Welcome and good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Nice to see some faces we haven't seen in a bit, or folks who are maybe brand new to us. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County on this lovely morning. So good to see you all. I have a few announcements. You've seen some of them showing on the screen. We again want to remind you that our UUTC retreat at the mountain will be coming up in September. Be watching for it. It will we'll have registration available soon. The retreat is available to all ages. It's not far. An hour and 15 minutes from here or so, it seems. And if you are going to need financial help, we have the Minister's Discretionary Fund if you need that. Other announcements, we have congregational meeting next week after the service. This week we serve you soup. Next week you get to vote. And so we hope you'll stay after both this service and the next one. We're so glad that we can do that. Was there any other announcement slide up there, Doug, that I shouldn't have skipped? Yeah, June 4th, Vision Sunday. I don't want to skip that. So we'll start with a guest speaker in the morning. The UU ministers, Lisa, who's heading up the UU's Social Justice Network of North Carolina, is our guest speaker in the morning. Then probably some kind of food. I don't know, maybe some potato chips or something. And then workshops and a chance to learn more about our vision statement. And finally ending with an installation service for me, officially becoming your minister. It's only 3 years late. And a concert, a mini concert by the Gay Men's Chorus in their 25th year. So it's a big day. So reserve as much of the day for UUTC as you can. That's good. Thank you. All right. We'll turn our time now to the candles of joy and sorrow. And I notice we have 3 already listed. And then Mike will help me as I jot down. And, oh, there's a 4th one here too. So we should have one more candle lit. This one is for Olivia Tyner and all of the Brevard High School young people who are treating our community to a superb production of Mamma Mia. Yeah. Jill writes, "A miracle happened. My house was built in 4 months and I move in May 31st. So good. And I have lit a candle for Jim and Gloria Sanders and Allison and the whole family. Jim was going through a really rough week, but then I got word that yesterday a congregant told me that he was up and he was recognizing people and enjoying the sunlight outside. So it's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster. And a candle this morning for all the mothers. All the mothers in the room, all the mothers we remember, all the mothers at home or that people are going off to visit. Any other items that come to your hearts to speak out loud of your joys and sorrows? Roberta. We love how intergenerationally we are able to bring ourselves into worship in a centered way. Good. Okay. For those of you at home, you missed the joke, but that's okay. All right. I'm going to ask for a candle for Diana and Tyler, who I officiated at their marriage yesterday. Turns out their Unitarian Universalist uncle said, "Go contact the UU church." And then somebody else in their family said, oh yeah, those Unitarian Universalists. So congratulations to Diana and Tyler. With all of these, the glow of these candles, let's remember folks online haven't had a chance to contribute, but whatever is on your hearts, maybe as we meet and greet one another, we can share more as a part of our weaving of our connection with one another. And in recognizing one another and all that we bring to this space, a non-touching, non-germ sharing greeting with one another, those around you.
Here are the opening words of the Reverend Laurel Mendez. Creation is messy, inconvenient, and uncooperative. Take a look at the cosmos. Go ahead, close your eyes, envision the stars. And when you do, forget Joseph Franz Haydn's spacious firmament bit. His images are far too tidy. See the real mess of the universe that made of itself 14 billion years ago. All of that creation is still trying to clean up. It's called the Big Bang. It's not the Grand Coalescence, for a reason. Mistakes were made, probably, and incorporated into the whole mess anyway. And wonders never cease. Here we are still muddling along 14 billion years later after the fact. Now open your eyes and look around you. You're surrounded by the most astonishing, miraculous wonder of them all, each other. Community, life, caring, and going on about caring. So it is, so it shall be, because we do care.
We invite you to join in the opening hymn, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Please rise as you are able and join in.
Skies,
Now, if you join me in the chalice lighting in unison, these are the words of Marnie Singer. The chalice is the container, the space where the musicians and the listeners gather. The oil is the fuel, the hours of practice and the life experiences of everyone in the room. The wick is the instruments and vocal cords through which the music will flow. And the flame, is the music which is created as if by magic. When the instruments are lifted, the breath is inhaled, and the downbeat is nodded. May this flame ignite the music in all of us.
We have been graced with the wonder of the music in us all, the music that brings us into this spiritual place by the talents and volunteerism, what I would call an avocation of two individuals in particular, not to leave out all the others who've come up here and done music, but two individuals in particular on a regular basis. And from time to time, we've had congregants light candles in appreciation, and we wanted to do something in the service that says, thank you, John. Thank you, Carlene. I am an amateur musician. Amateur means I do it from my heart. I'm not professional. It is said, though, that amateurs practice until they get it right. And professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. And to some extent, when I'm here on Fridays and I listen as Carlene comes in and tries out all the music on this piano, I'm realizing we have a professional who's coming with an amateur's heart into the professionalism of what's here. And John, we have someone here who has come with so much background in music and worship that the idea of putting together a worship service is never a chore, but always a joy, and understanding the ways in which you understand the interconnection of what music means to this congregation and what it means to each worship service spirituality. So thank you. So I'm going to give a couple of gifts here, and that gives time for two other people to come up to the microphone here. Now, I don't know which one of you likes dark chocolate or milk chocolate. Perhaps you don't like any of them, but you'll have to trade with each other if you want a better mix. Is this the dark? That's the dark with one milk chocolate, and this is all milk chocolate for Carlene, or to trade away. And these are a musical note and a whole set of musical instruments from one of the custom chocolatiers in Western North Carolina.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. On behalf of the congregation, I'd like to express our love and appreciation for John and Carlene and the music they bring into our lives. I mean, how often have we left a Sunday service feeling uplifted because of the music? Sometimes beautiful, sometimes thought-provoking, sometimes fun, always a gift to us all. Thank you, John and Carlene, and all the music makers who bless us here at UUTC. We love you.
On behalf of the choir, I would like to say thank you to John and to Carlene. so many people come up to us as choir members after the service and give us their appreciation for being here and adding to the service. But it's easy to be in the choir. We come in for rehearsal, the music's in front of us, we read our line, you know, the sopranos do theirs, the altos, the tenors. We read our little line there, put it together. But John has put in so much to select the music, to be prepared, to prepare us, patient sometimes, not always, but he's also such a narcissist. He's always saying, "You've got to look at me." Yeah. I can't. I don't know about that, John. But Carlene also, she plays the piano so beautifully, and it seems so effortless as she does it. What you don't understand is during rehearsals, she has in front of her all of the music that we are singing, the 4 different lines, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, and then she has the piano part, which is going all over the place there. But John stops and says, "Okay, altos, you're not getting this right. So Carlene, play the alto and the soprano parts together." And so she has to jump into doing that. She has to do the tenor and the bass parts together. So she's jumping back and forth all the time with all this music in front of her. How she does it, I don't know, but it's a gift. And, you know, we could come into this room every Sunday, no matter what we're seeking, but whatever it is that we get out of this room is enhanced through the music. And I thank John and Carlene for that.
Would you help me, Glenn? Would you help me? Would you bring this to Carlene, and I will bring this down to John from the congregation. You're welcome. I understand we have, is it Katie who has the candle? And we'll light the candle and then we'll sing the children out. We didn't want them to miss this special part. Here we go, Katie. Tilt it down even lower. There, I can get in there now. If you'll rise and wave to the children as they go. Peace be with you and our blessing. Peace be with you and our blessing. Peace be with you and our blessing as you leave us now. I've mentioned before, I'm a blood donor. Been doing this for decades now. At some point, I stopped encouraging the churches I serve from running blood donation drives because it was clear that medical science had overruled prejudice, but the rules for giving blood hadn't been. We've just seen that the rules have changed for giving blood, but it'll take a while for the Red Cross or others to begin to implement it to allow gay men in particular to be able to give blood. With caveats still, but it's getting more fair, and more scientifically based. I say this because giving should be something everyone is allowed to do. This is a part in the service in which we ask you to give of yourselves. We're not sucking the blood out of your veins. We're not leaving you drained, but we will still give you a beverage and a snack before you go. But being able to give and allowing everyone the opportunity to give is something I feel like that's a part of being human and being part of human society. In this congregation, we pass the plate for this congregation, or if you put it into the basket for Pisgah Legal Services, our special collection this month. We gratefully receive from any and all your generosity. The ushers will now pass the baskets. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Donna. What is given in love, we receive with great joy, and we say, thank you. Now is the time to center yourselves, to prepare for meditation and prayer. Spirit of love and life, on this Mother's Day, may we hold in our hearts those who have been mothers to us. Remembering those who are gone from us or those who are just a phone call away. Remembering the best of who they were passed on to us, even if there is some mix of humanity which was imperfect in what we received. For all the mothers, we lift up our prayers that they may be free from pain, to know love, to feel connection on this Mother's Day especially, as with all days. we hope for connection and joy in our relationships. We also lift up today various joys and sorrows within the congregation. A joy and a support. May our hearts go out to Elizabeth and River as they're heading cross-country on Wednesday. May we feel the joy in people's hearts in the transitions of new lives together. In particular this morning, Diana and Tyler, who were married this weekend here in Brevard. For the joy of those who bring beautiful music to us. For those recognized this morning, Carlene and John, and for all who have been bringing us the poetry, the beauty, the melody, the sense of all that music brings. We are grateful, and we pray for the musicians. We're joyful for those who are finding a home after long waits. May everyone find the joy of being safe in a home. In particular, thank you to those who finished Jill's house. Thank you for those who helped establish the Haven and have worked to make it possible for others to have a roof over their head. We're joyful for those who are contributing in ways that bring beauty to this world, in particular Olivia and all the young people at the high school putting on their production of Mamma Mia. All who have put on skits and plays and concerts, bringing beauty and art into the world. And finally, a prayer for those who are going through the roller coasters of life, in particular the Sanders family, for all who are facing upcoming medical procedures, changes in the ways in which they can navigate life, ways in which we face the mortality of our very being. These and the prayers of our hearts we hold now in the silence. In the names of all those who are known or unknown, remembered or forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, Amen. Blessed be.
Well, it was back in, I think, 2007, maybe 2008, when Linda and I walked in here one morning just before the service, and the piano was still over there, as was the choir on Sunday mornings. And Ann Findlay was walking around all fidgety and stuff. I don't know how many of you remember Ann Findlay, but she said, you know, I love to do the music here, but I hate to play the hymns. I said, Ann, I'm your man. Because I love playing hymns. I love being a leader in the music of the congregation. None of which Carlene and I have done for your music on Sunday morning would be possible, of course, without these people. These people who give of their talent and their time and their service to be here on Wednesday afternoons when, yes, I fuss a little, but not very much. But, see, I get this all the time. But, well, since she spoke up, I need to say something about Jean. Jean was a choir director when I first came. I played for choir rehearsals on Wednesday afternoon, but several times I was still a guy with other bad habits, and Carol McAllister would have to call me up and says, "John, it's 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. Where are you?" So I would get up from what I was doing, but I'd totally blown off choir practice. And I'm not the only one who's done that a couple of times. But anyhow, we have a good time. But what we do on Sunday morning is it's not a performance. I haven't used that admonition here with this choir very much, but it is a contribution to the worship experience of each and every one of you. If you are open to Reverend Bob's words and open to the music we perform, just maybe there will be something in there for you. We certainly hope so. We get a lot out of it. It's a win-win situation for us. We give, but we also get back for what we do, for what we contribute. Right, Carlene? Yes. Carlene said she didn't want to say anything this morning, but yes and thank you. So we're going to sing now a hymn from the Shaker tradition. "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be."
There are many things stored in here. Our reading this morning is, I'm going to use it in two different ways. Right now, I'm going to read it as a Mother's Day reading. It's from Khalil Gibran, Your Children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite and bends you with might that the arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. All right. I left an important thing in my pocket. A little bit of technological magic. Well, I think my pants will still hold up. Yeah, there we go. See, I don't need the suspenders to hold up my pants, but I thought these suspenders were good for today. Because if you're too far back, you can't tell. But they got musical notes all over them. Yeah. Sermon this morning is called Count the Rests. And I thought about creating music and feeling the rhythms, giving the rests their full measure. Otherwise, it's a mess. Our reading this morning talked about creation, and they called it the Big Bang, not the Big Coalescence. Things are a mess, but music gives a sense of structure in a relationship of musicians, a relationship of folks listening, an example for us, I believe, in this month of talking about creativity. If we take seriously the definition of creation, I read online this definition, it's to bring into being or form out of nothing. And in that way, creativity seems to be not only beyond any scientific understanding, but even impossible. That was a quote from online. To me, creativity is taking something and bringing variety. Bringing something and giving us an aha moment. Bringing something out of what we've heard before and moving our hearts. Creativity is something really special. And the people who bring us creativity, psychology today says creativity is often treated as a single personality trait. A person who is eccentric, offbeat, or just does things differently than most people might be described as having as a creative mood. So in musical terms, this means thinking outside the box. All right, so we're going to try a slide here. We're going to bad jokes today to get us rolling and to get outside of our boxes or Bach. To understand that creativity is something that we play with in what's going on here. What kind of music are balloons afraid of? Pop music. Okay. Now, you're going to think, why are you saying all these bad jokes, Bob? It's not April Fool's Day. How creative could you be with instruments? If you were a composer and you were told you could use anything you wanted to make your symphony. Tchaikovsky decided the 1812 overture needed cannons. I would love to be listed on a program as, all the different parts, and next to howitzer, Reverend Bob Renjilian. But I don't know how to fire a cannon. But I've heard them fired during the 1812 overture. So I like that. It's kind of fun. All right, let's try another one. This is basically saying we don't need you today in the orchestra. For those of you who are not musicians and don't know what's up there, that's an entire page of not one note. It's just counting. No, I take it back. There's some kind of multo retard that looks like a note. No, it isn't. No, that's third line down on the far right there. You see the little bird's eye symbol, fermata over it? It means you hold that nothing for a long time. Okay. Okay. I think this is the end of them, so we could take them off. Thanks so much, Doug. But I needed the chance to get you loosened up. If we think of the ways in which music works, it's a way in which we come from an openness, and the music helps either bring us out of a closedness or reinforces. If we say, oh, I'm in a particular mood, I want to choose to listen to a piece of music, to bring us, opening us to even more of how we are experiencing. Now, sometimes that means music that helps us feel angry or sexy or happy or sits with us in our grief and our sorrow. Music can do so much for the totalness of our being. And we use it as a metaphor for how we get along as people either. Like harmony is when you find two notes that love each other. Think of it that way. We've used music in our lives to help our society move towards better cooperation with one another. I remember The Music Man. I've never seen it. I don't think I've ever seen it on a stage. Have we seen that? Have the kids ever performed a Music Man? Maybe we have. But I definitely remember the movie. And so the professor there is in a conversation with Constable Locke after having brought this big speech about P, and it stands for pool, and T is for trouble, and all of this. But what does he do with the board? The board comes up arguing with each other, and he stops him and he says, "Oh, that voice, sing this note." And gets the next one, "Sing that note." "Oh, well, yeah. No, now you. Yes, bass note there." Okay, and gets them to sing quartet style together. Music bringing together society. Constable Locke, though, comes up to him after he does the tea is trouble speech and says, "That was pretty good, Professor, but you made a couple mistakes." And Harold Hill says, "Oh?" Constable Locke says, "Yeah, the billiard hall and that pool table belonged to Mayor Shin." "Oh, what was my other mistake?" That's Zanita. She's the mayor's oldest girl, who he just gave away with the scoundrel who was chasing her. We always are in interaction with human systems we do not fully comprehend. A good con artist, like a good composer, finds ways to get us started into, wow, we could get into this. We could understand, we could put together seemingly disparate parts. People may stand around like the constable and say, "You don't know what you just did there." And maybe not. Maybe you don't know how everything comes together. I'm going to start quoting little bits of a September 2020 issue from Frontiers in Neuroscience for you. This is the part where you needed the jokes to keep you awake for this part, okay? So here's like a real quote. "We draw from a range of scholarship in music and in active cognitive science and propose that creative cognition may be best understood as a process of skillful organism environmental adaptation that one cultivates endlessly." So what did they just say? They're proposing that this paper that I took the time to read for you, and I will summarize, they're saying it's like the con man who somehow is able to grab from here and there me and you, me and the environment around me, adapting and cultivating and changing. Music is doing that. Musical improvisation was found to, this is a quote again, implicate brain regions of the executive control network and the default mode network, and those networks were further shown to exhibit increased function and coupling not only during, say, a piano improvisation, but also in poetry composition and divergent thinking. Additionally, it said, all of this has demonstrated that creative people have the ability to simultaneously engage large-scale brain networks, suggesting that individual differences to simultaneously engage all of those things and all of those regions can be viewed as a neurophysical marker of creativity. They were measuring it on the brain waves. Creativity isn't just I have an idea. It's I have an idea that fits into my environment. I have an idea that I'm interacting with those around me. They do bring out the obvious, jazz improvisation, which is what most people think of in music and teaching us in human relationship. What happens in jazz? Jazz, if you're letting it roll, and it's not just one recording of one performance, jazz is that interaction. We've been hearing the themes, the musicians have been playing, and then one musician stands out and does a sax solo, a drum sequence, some other line of music, a solo that riffs on what has happened, and then all the other players find a way back in to make it a living experience of music being innovative right there in front of us. Now, some of us have gone to work or other retreats or conferences in which you break up into small groups and you do brainstorming. And it said in this neuroscience journal that they've measured, they used to think back in the 60s, that brainstorming was in fact workable for human groups. And then by the 90s or 80s, they were finding, well, it's only true up to a certain size. So think about a jazz group. We're not talking about an entire marching band waiting for a trumpeter over there on the end letter of the formation to go wild. It doesn't work. Brainstorming doesn't work in big groups, not even in a group that fits in one room like this. This is what they found originally. Brainstorming helps us because it takes off constraints and lets us think outside the box. But our creative impulses are stifled to some extent by the pause that we have to do while someone else is going with what they're doing. Remember that whole sheet of music? Somebody said, oh, that's got to be the oboe part. Nothing but rests. I can tell you, as a high schooler played second flute, it looked a lot like a second flute part, too. Lots of rests, except mine would have been in that kind of light bluish purple mimeograph that they'd run off for us high schoolers. Pause, wait, and we do. We have to stop and count. We have to say, okay, how are we going in the rhythms? Where is it going? How does it fit in? Where do I come back in? And when you have too many people in a brainstorming, people don't know when to jump back in. People don't know when it's their turn to just step out front and run with their riff. But in small groups, it works. A handful of people can brainstorm because they can read the signs and interactions. And they know enough that their role is to count, to be attuned to what's going on. They're not just being silent. They're not saying, hey, you don't need me, I won't speak up. They're waiting and counting and leaving space for when they jump back in. But that means they're always present. Sometimes in chorus rehearsal, we'll get this too. All right, while the sopranos are learning their part, the basses are still being attentive. We are figuring out what's going to come when it comes for us to be practicing and rehearsing. Rests count, and pulling back and listening counts in the creative process. Doesn't mean that we're on all the time. In the men's group, we ask something else of people, and that is, and I even put a number on it recently, if you found that you've already spoken up 3 times in this group, maybe this is the time to pull back and allow someone else to move into the conversation. It's important. What was that joke up there? Stop. You're under arrest. There are times in which it needs to be pointed out for all of us. Rest. We know that too, that creativity can't be all the time. We can't be on all the time. Some of the most creative people pick their time of day in which they will set the conditions. Just like we say, this will be our sleep time. No, this will be our creative time. And give ourselves the chance to do that, and then stop and go on to something else. Rests count. There is almost no way a human being can stay on one task forever. Think of the monotony that begins to occur. They said that was one of the worst things about the Industrial Revolution was getting onto an assembly line and having one job to do for the entire work day. What do you do? I put the bolts on the lugs to put the tires on the car. And that's what I do. all day long. It removes you from the sense of the pride of the whole to keep on going with just one task. We need the rest. They found out in many cases they needed to learn to switch up people. I know one of my summer jobs between college terms was going and working in a manufacturing company. And after a while, the supervisor would come around. Now, stop doing that. You go do that now. To keep us from being dehumanized and then beginning to mess up what we were doing. Those rests or changes in our lives matter. For choir folks, for musicians out here who play music for us, you look at what's on the page, but I'm going to tell you you're creative as well. What this neuroscience was saying is, when music is happening, you are not interpreting the notes on the page in a mechanical way. Ever hear the difference between MIDI music? People may not know what MIDI is. It's a musical interface. It's a computer reading notes. It's like a player piano, which is plunking the notes exactly the same time, exactly the same way, so long as the temperature of the room is the same and the speed of the roll is the same. You'll get the same thing the whole time. And musicians who are playing live are never that way. As much as they would want the tempo to be exactly the same, a musician is bringing creativity to it, to understanding what was the composer's intent here. How do I make this fresh? How do I bring it in here? For each of you in your lives, creativity that you bring to each and everything, a flower arrangement, a change up of something, whatever you are doing, if you are in fact giving something of your own heart to what you are producing, you are participating in a creative moment in interaction with the environment. Even if you are practicing solo at home, you are imagining the environment in which you will play the concert, or you are imagining what the composer wanted from the piece, and you are in relationship with that image in your mind of the composer or the audience. You are not separate. Music, it is nearly impossible to have true separation from others because you are always interacting with something or somebody who put something there for you. I like that as a religious concept. It involves a wholeness of ourselves, which I think religion asks us to be. Spirituality asks us to be whole and real and bringing our heart and our thoughts and our mind and our whole being into it. We improvise from day to day in what we're doing. We think deeply, and we are amazing individuals in relation to others. So I would like you to think of creativity not as some impossible thing, as the definition said, of bringing something out of nothing, but instead, let's, as the paper ended up saying, refer to creativity not as a quality one has or not, but rather as a mode of engagement with the world that one continuously cultivates and brings into the daylight of experience through our actions. May we do what we do in relationship. Let's count our rests well. Jump back into the conversations. Add our little bit of heart to the interactions with one another. Thank you for listening. one of the hymns that brings a sense of wonder to me, and the joy of the creativity of the person who wrote it, and the joy of hearing it among sung voices. One of these hymns that I love in this idea of creative spirituality is number 83, Winds Be Still. I invite you to rise and sing as you're willing and able, and whatever joyful noise you might make. Our closing words are from Sarah Morris Campbell. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and, renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Go out into that beauty and return again in love.